2002 saw the release of The Bourne Identity,
Hey, action!
which introduced us to the close-up, quick-cut, shaky cam action style. The movie used this format pretty well, but the damage was done. Here's the thing about QXK. It's the best way to film action. If you're really bad at filming action, what was once a stylistic flair spread throughout the industry as a creative crutch for lazy filmmakers. Everywhere you looked, action was turning into blurry, unintelligible nonsense. Something had to change. Action is not cheap and lazy. It takes an incredible amount of talent and effort to be a martial artist, a stunt person, to choreograph, to flip a damn car. And none of that came through anymore. This timeless art had been degraded into a clump of blurs and sounds made purely as a testosterone boost for people with small dicks. While Eastern action movies had long been showcasing the best action has to offer, the West was still waiting for its catalyst. And it got one. That's right, I'm gonna review every John Wick movie. I'm gonna talk about where they work, I'm gonna talk about when they go on strike, I'm gonna talk about why they left such a pretty dent, and then I'm gonna decide which of the 4 movies is the best, because I know there's nothing you people love more than arbitrary rankings. Let's talk about actions and consequences.